Shalom, shalom, Kahala Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh. What's going on, y'all? Look, this was going to be a patient build, so I'm definitely going to go ahead and tell you to make sure you get a pencil and a piece of paper. What we're going to do here is we're going to destroy a lot of myths, a lot of lies. Um, for the most part, our people are being deceived, and they're being deceived using a certain time frame in history. And what we're going to do here is we're going to look at a time frame in history to where Assyria is being destroyed. And this has really been hid out of history because it's been wrote up wrong on purpose. Because when you start to understand who the players of the game are, it will basically tell on them. So what they've done is they've always fed us this lie that Assyria was so crazy and they killed everybody they ever dealt with, and they made war on Israel and made war on Egypt and la 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 la. And it's a lot of lies. And the reason why this lie has to be perpetuated is because they do not want you to draw one dot to the next one. And so what we're going to do here is that we're going to show that through these lies, they've been able to keep our heritage away from us because they got a lot of us believing their myths, okay? Just I'm trying to word it right. And so what we're going to do here is we're going to also prove a few things. So let's go ahead, let's get into it, man. Right here, excuse me for the phone. We're going to look at our brother Jonah, and we're going to see a timeline of 760 BC. And I want you to keep this in mind, right? So Jonah actually predates Isaiah, Ezekiel, Daniel, Jeremiah. So number one, let's not get into what is a major prophet and what is a minor prophet. The Torah don't say that. The Torah say that these are the prophets of the Most High. That's basically it. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna go to Jonah, and I'm gonna show y'all something. Because see, the Assyrians was at war, and the Assyrians was fighting for their life, and they needed us. They needed the Egyptian. They needed the Nubian. They needed us all because ain't no easy way to say this, y'all. It was like a race war. And I'm going to prove this. I'm going to show y'all this. That was going down. So first thing we're going to do, let's show two things. We're going to demonstrate, number one, that Assyria could not have possibly been as hostile and as violent as history has painted them out to be. And let's prove that. Number one, we prove that by Jonah, period. Jonah's able to go down to Assyria. He don't have no problems while he's there. It didn't, nowhere in the book of Jonah did it ever say anybody tried him or threatened him or was going to kill him. He had no fear for his life when he went to Assyria. Yes, Jonah was a holy man, so he believed in a creator, but I want to show y'all something. See, Jonah knew something we didn't know. Let's start at Jonah number 1. And it says, and the word of Yahweh came to Jonah, son of Amittai, saying, arise, go to Nineveh, that great city, and call out against her, for her wickedness has ascended before me. But it says, but Jonah arose to flee to Tarshish from before Yahweh, went down to Jaffa and found the ship bound for Tarshish, and he paid his fare and boarded to travel with them to Tarshish before Yahweh. So Jonah know what he's supposed to do. And there's a reason why Jonah doesn't go down there. Because Jonah knows who's there. And Jonah obviously knows these same people that come up that are in Assyria now are the problem. See, I'm going to go and make it clear. I ain't going to go through this twice. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start right here. I'm going to hit Jonah chapter 3, verse number 10. And Elohim saw their deeds, that they repented from their evil way, And God relented, and Elohim, Salakia, relented concerning the evil which he had said he would bring upon them, and did not do it. So the people have repented, and Yahweh didn't destroy them. But pay attention. And it says, and it displeased Jonah greatly and angered him. Now, that's your key right there. He's not rebelling against the Most High. Jonah wanted them people destroyed. This is exactly why he did not want to go. He knew what he was supposed to do. But he also knew who these people was. And we've already dealt with this before. Let's go ahead. When Jonah went there, and we'll start at verse number 7. And it had promulgated and declared in Nineveh by the counsel of the king. So this is a king's decree going out. And by his nobles saying, the man and the animal, herd and the flock shall not taste anything. They shall neither graze nor drink water. Both man and animal shall cover themselves with sackcloth, and they shall call out to the mighty God. Every man shall turn back from the evil and from the robbery that is in his hands. 3 things. Animals can't cover themselves with sackcloth. Animals cannot cry out to the mighty Creator. And animals, what violence and robbery does an animal have in their hands? This is talking about the no people. Very simple. And this is why Jonah did not want to come, because he wanted all of them destroyed. Because he knew what was finna happen. But obviously, we didn't know what was finna happen. So let's go. So that's number 1. Nothing still happened to Jonah. So this is number 1 proof. Assyria was not a hostile place to us at first. This will be a lie. Let's get a precept to back this up. I'm just using my KJV just because I don't want to keep jumping through the pages. This is going to be Hosea 12 and verse number 1. Ephraim feeded on the wind and followed after the east wind, and he daily increased lies, desolation, and he do make a covenant with the Assyrian, and oil is carried into Egypt. So once again, the Israelites are not in bondage. They are not in conflict with Assyria. Like, they are not. So we know now that this is a lie. You know, so with knowing that that's a lie, that should be one thing. Hold on one second. Never mind. So let's keep going. So next thing we're going to do, now let's go back. And we're going to look. Remember, Jonah's timeline would be 760 BC, right? So then let's go over here. Let's look. And I want y'all to keep some of these dates in your mind. Assyria falls in 612 BC. All right? Babylon falls in 616 BC. The Assyrian Empire would reign from 911 BC to 609 BC. I want you to keep these few dates in your mind. And why are we keeping them dates in our mind? Because what we're finna do is we're finna show that Assyria was destroyed by all the people who was surrounding Assyria. And we're going to prove that. 1 second, y'all. 1 second. All right, Slocky. Sorry. Let's go back to where we were. So we're going to show that Assyria is destroyed by all of these little places that would have been around Assyria. And I'm going to show that there was a war, and the piece of history that's being wrote up most incorrectly is that they've painted Assyria out to be always these vicious people to us. But the truth is, Assyria was coming kidnapping people because they needed help fighting this war that they was already losing. And I'm going to prove that. And it's been talked about in the Torah. It's just really got to put it together. So I want to show some things first. When we go, so let's deal with this king's list. This is gonna basically start at the king who's just above him. That's gonna be the one who correlates to Jonah's time. But remember, they got correct, so I didn't actually put them in here. That's gonna be Tiglath-Pileser III, Sargon II, with Shalmaneser being his brother, Sennacherib. All right, and he's gonna have two sons. That's gonna be Ashurdan and Ashurbanipal. You can get that date. Tiglath-Pileser, that's going to be 745 BC to 727 BC. Sargon, that's going to be 722 BC to 705 BC. Sennacherib, that's going to be 705 BC to 681 BC. Ashurdan, that's going to be 681 BC to 669. Ashurbanipal, that's going to be 668 to 527. All right, so these are going to be the Assyrian king list, right? And I'm going to show you that these same kings needed our help. And before we get into that, let's go into some of the players of the game. So I'll go into this Babylonian text I got, and it's going to be a motley of nations. So we're just going to get a few parts. Now remember, this is the chapter about Assyria. It says the population was a mixture of Semites, which only means mixed people, the civilized south, Babylonia and Achadia. The non-Semitic tribes were from the west, probably of a Hittite or Mitannian affinity, and Kurdish mountainous from the Caucasus. Keep this in mind, right? So let's just go down real quick. Now I want to show y'all something that keeps on being talked about. It says another son, Ashurdan. Now remember, we just showed Ashurdan. That would be 681 BC to 669 BC. Ashurdan snatched the throne from his blood-stained brothers, invaded Egypt to punish supporting the Syrian revolts made. The revolts. You keep that in mind. Now listen again. This is going to be still Assyrian chapter, page 270. To avoid these recurrent rebellions, who is rebelling? I'm going to show you something. These recurrent rebellions. So they're clearly dealing in war, and they're trying to be overthrown. Now let's get right here. Page 273. Near East preferred violent usurpings to corrupt elections, and from their recall was an assassination. Some of these wars were doubtlessly inevitable. Barbarians, see that? Proud about every frontier. Every frontier, what does that mean? That means they were surrounding Assyria. Just keep going. And one reigned weakness where we see Scythians, Cimmerians, and some other hordes sweeping down upon the wealth of the Assyrian cities. Now, also, where are they sweeping down from? Now, I just showed you. The Caucasus. Now, let's go ahead and let's demonstrate that these kings was needing our help. Because remember, Jonah has already went and prophesied before any of this happened. So let's go now. And let's show how all of this was prophesied, that this was going to all happen. And I'm going to show you that this happens. So we're going to start now. Isaiah chapter 3. For behold, Yahweh, Adonai Yahweh, Master Legions, is removing from Jerusalem and from Judah support of men and support of women, every support of bread and every support of water, hero and man of war. See that? Visor, teacher, and of the wise comprehender of mysteries. So all of that was going to be removed out of the land. But I want you to focus on the men of war are going to be removed from the land, right? 1 second, Salak, y'all. I'm a little under the water. Forgive me. Let's keep going. Men of war will be removed, right? So then we're going to look at Tiglath-Pileser, right? 645 BC to 727 BC. So where can we find him at? Find some of his actions, right? Because he's got quite a few actions, but let's find some of them. And that's going to be, I believe that's 1 Chronicles 5. Yeah, 1 Chronicles chapter 5. And, okay, and we'll start at verse number 26. So the Elohim of Israel stirred up the spirit of Pul, king of Assyria, and the spirit of Tiglath-Pileser, king of Assyria, and he led away the Reubenites, the Gadites, and the half-tribe of Manasseh into exile, transported them to Halah, Harbor, and Hara, and until the river goes on until this day. So these acts would have been committed between 745 and 727 BC. But who are the people that he has removed? These would be our fighters. Look at the names. The Reubenites, the Gadites, and the half-tribe of Manasseh. That would literally be our army. Now, why is he needed to remove our army? Because they was losing a war where they was being overthrown. So he kept these Assyrian kings, because remember, the first king, he listened to Jonah, so he was delivered. But the rest of these kings, no. The rest of these kings, they had a chance, but they messed up their chance. So these kings kept on coming to kidnap us to help them fight, because they was losing to these Scythians. And we're going to show you who they in connection with. So we just dealt with Tiglath-Pileser, right? So then, now let's go down to his son. Now, two of his sons are Sargon and Shalmaneser, right? So now let's go with his son. Let's go ahead and show his son continues his legacy, because they are still getting handed to him. And I'm going to tell you where we can get that. We go to the book of Isaiah. And we're going to go to the book of Isaiah, and we're going to read. It says in Isaiah chapter 20, verse number 1, in the year that Tardan came to Ashdod, when Sargon, king of Assyria, sent him, and he fought against Ashdod and captured it. And it says, and at that time Yahweh spoke through Isaiah, son of Amos, saying, go, don sackcloth from off thy loins, and remove your shoe from your foot. And he did so, going unclothed and barefoot. Yahweh said, just as my servant Isaiah has gone unclothed and barefoot for 3 years as a sign and a symbol upon Egypt and Cush, so will the king of Assyria lead away the captivity of Egypt and the exile of Cush, young and old, unclothed and barefoot. It says with exposed buttocks, the nakedness of Egypt. Devastated and ashamed will be those whose longing was for Cush, and whose splendor was from Egypt. Now I want to stop. So let's let y'all know that Sargon is going to exile some of us, some of the Egyptians, some of the Cushites. And this is what we're going to do. Forgive me, try to do this right so y'all can see this. All right. Sargon II. Sargon II in Aramaic was an Assyrian king, son of Tiglath-Pileser III. He came to power relatively late in life, possibly usurping the throne from his brother Shalmaneser IV. Right. Sargon suppressed the rebellious, see that? The rebellious conquered of the kings of Israel in 710 BC, conquered the kingdom of Babylon. Now, conquered the kingdom of Babylon, don't you keep that in your mind. thus reuniting Assyria with a southern rival, Babylonia, which had been separate since the death of Hannibal in 1750 BC. Now I want you to go down. I want you to peek, really listen to what it's saying. And it's going to go to military campaigns. It says Sargon was beset with widespread rebellions. See, these same rebellions been going on this whole time. This is why they're coming to kidnap people, because they're fighting. And then it's going to show you who's done it. By the beginning of his rule, Marduk, Alpha Adenia, a chieftain of the Chaldean tribes, in the marshes of the south, declared himself the king of Babylon and was crowned in 721 BC. Sargon Marduk Alpha India, it says Adenia, met in battle in the plains of Babylon near the city of Dur. Marduk Adenia was supported by the Elamite king Hambu Nishkash, and the Elamite troops were able to push back the Assyrian army and retain the control of the south of the king of Babylon. And three kings concluded a treaty stabilized by the relationship of Ditane, which was the last 10 years. So what they're basically, now look, now who is it showing you again? The Syrio-Hittite state. Now I just showed you. Just showed you in the Babylonian book that the same people who would have been coming out the Caucasus Mountains would have been that amalgamation with the Hittites, the Mitannians, and the Chaldeans. Because who else makes up Tartan? And we know Tartan is Tartaria. And Tartaria is Scythians, the Hittites, the Canaanites. It's going to be all of these people. This is what we call the amalgamation. That's going to be all of them. Excuse me. So let's go back. So now we can see that Sargon is playing the same game. But here's going to be the kicker though, y'all. When you go down and you look, it says, under his rule, the Assyrians completed the defeat of the kingdom of Israel, correct, capturing Samaria after the siege of 3 years, exiling its inhabitants, and became the bias, right, and this became the basis of the legend of the 10 lost tribes, but that's a false, because we are not lost, and I'm going to prove that. But here goes the kicker though, y'all. Just pay attention. We, at the time that he's starting to snatch us up, we would have been in his army. And remember, what is he also known for? At 710, he conquered the kingdom of Babylon. So we would have been in Sargon's army when he took down Babylon. And this is why they came back to get us. Think about it. 710 BC, right? Now, we just read Isaiah 20, showing you this prophesied. And we go to 7, like I said, Sargon reigned between 722 and 705 BC. But at 710 BC, he conquered the kingdom of Babylon. But he had already took us before then. So we would have been a part of his military. Let me explain this real quick. These brothers are trying to overthrow each other, because they want to know who's going to be king now. And they're brothers, so don't nobody want to wait for somebody to die. No, they want to kill each other. This is why I keep on telling you the Assyrians was dealing with serious civil war. But here going to be the kicker though. Some of these, see, it seems that this line of his children were coming to grab us. But this line of his children kept going and getting the Chaldeans and putting the Chaldeans in their army. Now, here go the thing. In order to put these Chaldeans in their army, they would have had to educate them. They would have had to taught them how to fight, how to read, how to write. This is how these people become civilized. I'm going to prove that. Let's prove that real quick. We ain't got to go far. All right. This is Isaiah 23 and 13. Behold, this is the land of the Chaldeans, for this nation never used to be there. Assyria founded its fleets, it erected its towers, and now they destroyed its places. You see that? Who is he? When it says now he will be the Chaldean. He has destroyed the Assyrian places and the places that Assyria erected for you. Because the Chaldeans no longer wanted to be up under y'all. They did not want to be up under y'all no more. And in fact, let's go and get that. Because see, Nahum, when Nahum comes through, he tells you it's over. It says a prophecy regarding Nineveh. See, the capital of Assyria. Regarding Nineveh, the book of the vision of Nahum. It says, Yahweh is jealous, vengeful, Elohim, revengeful, full of wrath, and vengeful to his adversaries, and reserves hostility to his enemies. He is slow to anger, he is great to power. He would not absolve the iniquity. His path is a storm and a tempest, and the clouds over the dust of the feet, and he rebukes the sea and makes it dry, and makes all rivers parch. See, when Nahum came up here, it wasn't no more get right. He was telling y'all it's over. It's just a matter of time now. But I've been sent here to let you know it's done deal. And then when you look at Nahum, he actually show you something crazy that matches with, this would be around the time of Sennacherib. And if y'all, and just in it, I think I'm freestyling just because I really don't. We're going to go to Nahum, and Nahum is going to fit in the West, 697 BC, right? So who fits into that time frame? Sennacherib. He's going to fit into that time frame, and we're going to find him in 2 Kings. Now, we're going to show that he has been sent at this Nahum has been sent around his time to let him know, listen, bro, it's over. It's a done deal, bro. And Nahum is also going to prove what Isaiah said. So we're going to go down to Nahum 3. We're going to start at verse number 8. It says, are you better than Noamon, which sits by the rivers, with water surrounding it, whose rampart is by the sea, whose wall is the sea, powerful Cush and endless Egypt, put Ludum. It says they were your helpers, yet each of them went into exile and a captivity. You see that? So the Egyptians, who would have been our allies, they did go into captivity. They did get snatched up, but they're not just going into captivity. They're going up here to fight for the Assyrian king because they keep dealing with what? The rebellion from the Chaldean, the Hittite, from these people coming out the Caucasus. So let's go ahead and put this in perspective. This covers roughly about 130 years that it took Assyria to finally be destroyed. This didn't happen overnight. These people didn't take over overnight. No. They actually sat and developed in the land. So let's go ahead to that. And we're going to go and find 2 Kings chapter 18. And we're going to start verse number 13. And it says, now in the 14th year of King Hezekiah did Sennacherib, see that? Sennacherib, 705 to 681 BC. Did Sennacherib, king of Assyria, come up against them all the fenced cities of Judah and took them. And Hezekiah, king of Judah, went to Assyria and Lachish, saying, I have offended, return from me. See, like he's wondering, what have I done? Because remember, see, the Assyrians and us was not exactly enemies. They was just kidnapping us because of this war they was in. He says, return from me that which I put us on me to bear, and the king of Assyria appointed unto Hezekiah, king of Judah, 300 talents of silver and 30 talents of gold. And Hezekiah gave him silver that was found in the house of Adonai and in the treasures of the king's house. So you see, he's still giving, King Hezekiah is still giving the Assyrian king what he wants. And he's not fighting. So I'm telling you, at this point, we will still have been somewhat cool, but it's what the kings of Assyria do to get them in trouble. Now remember, at the same time, Nahum is already letting you know it's over. See, the kings know it's over, but they're trying to do any and everything they can to keep their monarchy because they're being overthrown by the Hittite Chaldean from the Caucasus. So let's jump up. And we're going to jump up now, and we're going to look, and let's go into 2 Kings chapter 19, and let's just start. Let's just start at verse number 6. And Isaiah said unto them, Thus shall ye say to your masters, Thus said Adonai, Be not afraid of the words of which thou heard, from which the servants of the king of Assyria has blasphemed me. The servants of the king. It didn't say the king of Assyria, it said the servants blasphemed him. So let's stop. Let's deal with that real quick. Who would have been the servants of the king of Assyria that blasphemed? Let's go back to 2 Kings chapter 18. I know I'm jumping back and forth. Start at verse number 17. And the king of Assyria sent Tartan and Rabashakeh and Rabashakeh and Lachish to the king Hezekiah with a great host against Jerusalem. And they went up and came to Jerusalem. And when they come up, they came and stood at the conduit of the upper pool, which is the highway of the fuller's field. So these are going to be the servants of the king of Assyria. Okay? And we're going to deal with this person, Rabashakeh, because this is going to be one of our enemies. This is going to be, basically, this is going to be Ashkenaz. I'm just going to tell you. That's who that is. And we're going to show you. Now listen to what it says. It says, And Rabashakeh said unto them, Speak ye now to Hezekiah, thus said the great king of Assyria, What confidence is that wherein has trusted? But thou sayest, But they are built in vain words. I have counsel and strength for the war. Now whom does not trust? Now on whom dost thou trust that thou rebellest against me? So this is this servant of the king of Assyria, and he's asking basically, who are you to rebel against the king of Assyria? Excuse me. And he's asking you, why do you trust in your creator? Now watch this. It says, Now behold, thou trustest upon the staff that bruised the reed, even upon Egypt. And if a man lean, he will go into his hand and pierce it. Is Pharaoh king of Egypt unto all that trust on him? That's exactly right. Because see, that would have been, these would have been our allies in Egypt. And this is why the king of Assyria has made it clear he's going to go whoop them, chase them out of power, exile them to go fight for him. And then they would install, what would they do after that? They would install the Esarhaddon. He would install the 26th dynasty of Egypt, being the Sattite kings. We're going to get there in just a second. Because why did they install these people? Because our actual Hamite cousins, who are our allies, was coming to help us, and they didn't like it. So let's go back in 2 Kings chapter 19, and we're gonna start go back to verse number 7. Remember, we stopped at blasphemy. And behold, I will send a blast upon him, that he shall hear a murmur, and he shall return to his own land, and I will cause him to fall by the sword in his own land. Right? Now, who would that have been? Remember, that would have been Sennacherib. How did he fall? One of his sons, if I'm correct, Ashurbanipal, killed him to try to have his throne. And go to verse number 9. It says, So Rabashakeh, remember, this is the same dude who blasphemed, returned and found the king of Assyria warring against Labath, and he had heard that he was departed from Lachish. And when he heard say of Tirhakah, see that name? Tirhakah? See? That would be our ally. This would be the Nubian Egyptian kings who was actually helping us. This is why it kept on telling us, stop relying on Pharaoh, because these would have been our allies. Only with the exception that we still came down there and did the Egyptian worship. But beyond that, they would have been our allies. Let's keep going. And it says, verse number 9, And when he had heard say of Tirachah, king of Ethiopia, behold, he is come to fight against thee. And he sent messengers again to Hezekiah, saying, so who's they coming to fight? They didn't come to fight against us. They was coming to fight against y'all. Because these would be our allies. Pharaoh Tirachah. See, this would be the 25th dynasty of Egypt. And these would be the ones who got their ass kicked and got chased out of power. And then they installed the Satyr kings, which would be Necho. Excuse me, Salaki. Excuse me. Let's keep going. Let's go. Let's keep going. And so let's go to the Satyr kings. Let's just deal with that real quick. Gonna have I know a lot of super Africans gonna really be mad at this, but it is what it is. So when we go to the 26th dynasty, the Satyrs, Necho the first, Necho the second. It says history. The Assyrian king Esarhaddon. Who? Esarhaddon, the same one who would have installed these kings. Esarhaddon, who had conquered Egypt in 671, had expelled the Nubian pharaohs of the 25th dynasty. Thank you. Who would that be? That would be our allies. Why did he expel them? Because this was all about this trade route. See, they wanted to control this trade route. This trade route has always been talked about in the Torah. And they wanted to control it. See, when we would have had the covenant, we would have destroyed the trade route between the other part of Egypt and Babylon. So this is why it was very important to keep the covenant, because we would have controlled the trade route, thus being able to control more of our riches and our economics by controlling their trade as well. This is why when the Assyrian king comes on the throne, he kicks the Nubians. We just look, remember Nahum, he kicks the Nubians' ass, chased them out of power. See that? Powerful Cush, endless Egypt, Ludum, were your helpers. Yet each of them went into exile. See, he would have chased them out of power, but also, what is he doing? He's exiling them to Assyria, making them fight, because the Chaldeans are tearing their mouth out. And I've been showing y'all these rebellions by these same people. Now, let's come back. Salakia. All right, let's go back into this book by the Syria, and we're going to go to page 283. It says, more and more, an army itself was filled by these men of other lands. It says, while semi-barbarians, to go that word again, because remember, barbarian and Tartarian are synonymous. It says, marauding harassed every border and exhausted the resources of the country in the endless defense of the unnatural frontiers. Ashurbanipal died in 626. See that? Ashurbanipal. That will be the same guy. Dies, and some of these dates are going to be a little bit different. Dies in 626 BC. 14 years later, the army of Babylon under Nebuchadnezzar united with the army of the Medes under Cyaxares and a horde of Scythians from the Caucasus. And it says, and with amazing swiftness captured the cathedrals of the north, and Nineveh was laid waste. Nineveh was laid waste. So I told you, it would have been the Scythians, the Hittites, and the people from the Caucasus. They destroyed Assyria. So that's point proven. I've continuously told you this. So they destroyed Assyria. They've chased the Nubians out of power, which is 2 Kings 19, verse number 8 and 9. So they've chased the Nubians out of power. But here goes what happens, though. Now remember, in Nahum, he told you it was over, right? Now here gonna be the thing. And this is wrote up in history wrong. The Assyrians did not attack Egypt because they hated Egypt. No, remember, they have already installed their own kings down here. So why do they need to attack it? It don't make sense. The Assyrians invaded Egypt trying to get away from the Scythians, these Chaldeans, and these people coming out the Caucasus Mountains. Let's get that. And it's not being wrote up correctly in history. Because, see, if you understand that Assyria is the place these people first got their start in, you're going to think about it a little bit different. Okay. So, and we're going to go to Isaiah 19. And on that day there will be 5 cities in Egypt that speak the language of Canaan and that swear by the name of Yahweh, Master of Legions, and one of them will be called the City of the Sun. You see that? And verse number 23. On that day there will be a road from Egypt to Assyria. Assyria will come into Egypt, and the Egyptian into Assyria, and Egypt will serve Yahweh with Assyria. Thank you. Thank you. Why would they serve Yahweh with Assyria? Because this is going to be the tribes of Manasseh, the half tribe of Manasseh, the ones who was so much in league with Assyria. We already showed you they was doing trade, right? But that's going to be the thing, though. That's why the people swap, or the crossing of people going one way and the next way, is because the Assyrians was trying to get away from the Scythians. They was trying their best to get away. And let's get that. Let's get that. Because it's been rolled up in history completely wrong. And I'm going to prove to you. And I'm glad, because one of these pseudo guys just said this the other day. Sack of Thebes, right? Now just look at the date. Sack of Thebes was placed in 663 BC. 663 BC. That will correlate to who? The Ashurbanipal, right? The same, because remember, his brother has just installed the Sattite kings. So think about it. His brother installed the Sattite kings. I just came to an epiphany myself. His brother installed the Sattite kings, not him. So this is why Egypt is going to be sacked. Now let's watch this. Took place in 663 BC, the city of Thebes, in the hands of the Neo-Assyrian Empire under King Ashurbanipal, went to war with the Kushite 25th dynasty of Egypt. Thank you. Thank you. This is where we would have been fled. All the people fled there. The Assyrians fled there. But the brother, I'm glad. All praise to Yahweh for that epiphany. I'm sorry, I'm having an epiphany on screen. He would have continued to try to come now and destroy Egypt, but everybody else has already fled into Egypt, trying to get away from the Scythians, because he would have been employing them. This is going to be the Assyrian king who employed them, like I told you. This side of Tiglath-Pileser's sons, this side of his line would employ those people. But see, show you something. When we go into a motley of nations, it says, now look at who these motley of nations. Remember the Indo-European people, just to show you this is somewhat of a race war. And that's going to be getting kicked endlessly. It says, behind and around the great empire, Egypt and Babylonia, Syria, Persia followed this medley of half nomad, half settled tribes: Carmelians, Sicilians, Cappadocians, Bithynians. Let's just call it Ashkenazi. It says Masonians, Myonians, Koreans, Lycians, I can't pronounce that word. Pisidians, Lysonians, Philistines, Amorites, Canaanites, Edomites, Ammonites, and Moabites. That's going to be your amalgamation. That's exactly going to be your amalgamation. And I told you, all of these same people, these kings of Assyria, this is a great mistake they made. We got to go back and look at Sargon real quick, because then we're going to go on Sargon and we're going to show you who does it. When you look at Sargon, you're going to see this guy, Marduk Alpha Adenia. He would have been the one. Look at what it says. It says, was a Chaldean leader from the Bekian tribe who seized Babylon throne in 722 BC from Assyrian control and reigned 720 to 710. See that? So the Assyrians would have been still fighting these people. Even though they took over Babylon out of Assyria's hand, Assyria is still fighting them. And when we look at that guy, let me see. When we look at that guy, we go to category of Chaldean kings, you're going to see Nebuchadnezzar II, Marduk. So that's going to be that guy again. You see that? See, what I'm telling you is these people, what they started to do was they wasn't able to beat Assyria by themselves. So they went and they got all of these nations together. And they got all of them together. And they would come back and they would destroy Assyria forever. And Assyria would never rise again. And this is why some of these dates are going to come in handy. So we've already went to the sack of Thebes. And we're showing you that under sack of Thebes took place in 663 BC in the city of Thebes at the hands of the Neo-Assyrian Empire under the king Ashurbanipal, then at war with the Kushite 25th dynasty of Egypt. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Man, it's finna get hairy for y'all. So let's go ahead and show. So when we go to Ashkenaz, right? It's going to say Hebrew. In the Hebrew Bible, the descendants of Noah, Ashkenaz is the first of Gomer, a Japhetic patriarch of the Table of Nations. It says in the kingdom of Ashkenaz was first associated with the Scythian region. That is going to, see that? All of that's going to be where these people are coming down from, fighting Assyria right down in here. And they took over Assyria and destroyed Assyria forever. And from that point, we then fled into Africa trying to get away from them people. And this is why when you go into JC's time, you're going to see all these, what you would call quote-unquote white people in the land, in the area. Associated with the Scythian region, then later with the Slavic territories from the 11th century outside with Germany and Northern Europe. So I show you, these people are in cahoots, right? Now remember, and then we go back and we look at who's going to be one of these other players of the game. That's going to be Beretuda, Acadia of Old Persia, ancient Greek, Romanized, was a Scythian king. You see that? It says Karshita, that word is hard. A Medinian chieftain planned the insurrection into an Assyrian territory. His allies include the Cimmerians, the Mananians, the Scythian king Ashur, and all the Medinians, and we're 687 BC. What does 687 BC correlate to? That's 687 BC, excuse me. That's going to be Sennacherib. So I've continuously showed you. It was these people's sons in the midst of trying to kill and overthrow each other. They would have been the ones. Now, let's look at some of these actions from some of these, especially installed kings. So let's look at some of these installed kings and what some of that actions is. Wow. Okay, Salakia, kids. So let's go to 2nd Chronicles. Let's go to 2nd Chronicles. And he did was right. They broke down. Let's go to 2nd Chronicles, chapter 35. Josiah wounded in battle, and after this all, when Josiah had prepared the temple, Necho, king of Egypt. Who was Necho? Remember, Necho would be one of these Satai kings that has been installed by the Assyrians. Necho, king of Egypt, came against the fight Cheshemesh by the Euphrates, and Josiah went out against him. Now you see that? Now let's go on down. Let's go on back. 2nd Chronicles chapter 36. And then the people of the land took Jehoahaz, son of Josiah, and made him king of his father's stead in Jerusalem. Jehoahaz was 23 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 3 months. And he reigned for 3 months in Jerusalem. And the king of Egypt put him down at Jerusalem and condemned the land 100 talents of silver or gold. And the king of Egypt made Eliakim his brother king over Judah and Jerusalem. And he turned his name into Jehoiakim. And Necho took Jehoahaz his brother and carried him to Egypt. Thank you. So thank you. See, you can clearly see there's a difference within this line and within this fight. You know, so excuse me. And I just want to go ahead and let's dispel this whole lost tribes of Israel, because see, under these lies about Assyria, that's why they were able to feed you these lost tribes of Israel. But we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna dismantle that right now. Go to Second Chronicles. Because see, they're able to use these lies, lying to you about this Assyrian time frame, when they're just not telling you that the Assyrians was always at war with our enemies. And I'm gonna show you who went and put them back in the cage. I'm sorry, I said cage. Who went and put them back in the cave? Before we get that, let's go. Let's go to Second Chronicles, chapter 30. Hezekiah sent the word from Israel. He sent the word from all Israel, and also wrote the letters to Ephraim and Manasseh to come to the temple of Yahweh Jerusalem, to the peace offerings of the God of Israel. So you see that Ephraim and Manasseh are back. So ain't no lost tribes. They're already back with Hezekiah. See that? They're back with Hezekiah. Let's go down to verse number 10. The runners passed from city to city in the land of Ephraim and Manasseh to Zeboiim, and the people laughed at them and mocked them. However, some people from Asher, Manasseh, Zeboiim humbled themselves and came to Jerusalem. So once again, some tribes are back. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. Now, when you go to King Hezekiah, it was his grandson, great-grandson, Jehoahaz. Now listen what happens in Jehoahaz's time. That's going to be Second Chronicles chapter 34. Look at verse number 6. And the cities of Manasseh and Ephraim and Simon and Nephatal and the hatches all around. You see that? Let's go down. Let's go down to verse number 9. And they went to Hilkiah, the Kohen of Gadal, and delivered the money that he had been brought to the temple of Elohim, which the Levite gatekeepers had collected from Manasseh, Ephraim, until the rest of the remnant of Israel, from Judah to Benjamin, had returned to Jerusalem. So that's all the tribes back. So whoever told you that there was lost tribes, they lied. And that's the big old lie right there, y'all. And how did they do that? They did that by lying to y'all, lying to us, about Assyria and Assyria being at war. So I want to now show who put them back where they needed to go. I'm going to show you who put them back. Let's go. And I'm going to show you what they look like too. What's that going to be? Daniel, what's that? Oh, okay. Daniel 9. In the first year of Darius, son of Ahasuerus. Can't that hard, the name is hard. But Darius, right? So Darius is the one. When Yahweh gives the covenant to Darius, Darius is going to be the one who put these people back. So let's take a look at these people. Now I'm going to show you captives. I'm going to show you what these people look like. And I'm going to show you who the Chaldean was. See that? That would be the Chaldean right there. And I'm going to show you their faces up close, because these ain't melanated people. It says, you see that? The relief is 6 meters long and 3.5 meters, represents Darius' conquest over his enemies. Now watch this. I'm going to show you who they are up close. Let me see. Bam. Now look at them. Them is not pigmented people, y'all. Look at them faces. Look at their hair. Look at them noses. And the one in the back, that would be the Chaldean right there. And these would be the rest of the people. The Hittites, the Carmelians. These would be the people from the Caucasus Mountains, who Darius has put their all necks back in chains, hands all bound behind their back. They are prisoners. But see, I don't think he sent them all home. I think if you didn't act civilized, you had to go. If you act civilized, you could stay. One more time. For anybody who needs to see it again, that would be King Darius, putting all those same people back up in the mountains. And we already done shown who got them people out. And somehow or another, them people would have snuck and got in Greece. After all of these people rainfall and we broke the covenant, these people would have got in Greece, overthrown the Greeks, started assuming to be them. Then they would have went into Egypt, start assuming to be them. And then some of those Herodians would then start to come up under Herod and start assuming to be us. With that, I want to say all praises to Yahweh. Thank you for anybody who got anything from this. The Assyrian was originally not our enemy. They became our enemy because they did not listen to Prophet Jonah. Because they did not listen to Prophet Jonah, they went into captivity and got destroyed themselves. The way history has been wrote up, it has been wrote up to lie to you, because they don't want you to know it was the Indo-European people who destroyed Assyria forever. And this is why Assyria was like a race war. Because if you keep paying attention, the Assyrians kept on coming to get us to help them fight. And we would have been on Egyptian religion at that time, so we ain't have no protection. Except for Hezekiah and what righteous kings, prophecy kings came through, we would have not. So this is how we ended up getting destroyed and fleeing into Egypt. With that, I want to say all praises to Yahweh, Kahala Yahweh. Thank you for anybody who came through. With that, Shalom.